Shabbat Shalom. I'm Rabbi Lauren Werber here with Brian Kelly at Congregation Beth Adam in Cincinnati, Ohio, and we are excited to share our Shabbat experience with each of you. Tonight, the service itself, the readings and reflections will be just a little bit shorter in order to give a little extra time to a special guest. We were fortunate to have Rabbi Robert Barr, our Rabbi Emeritus, return for a conversation that we will include during this service. We begin with words of reflection. 6 days we speak.
Tonight we listen.
6 days we build.
Tonight we rest.
6 days we take care of others.
Tonight we nurture ourselves.
6 days we work to change our world.
Tonight we are renewed by what is eternal.
Six days we plan for the future.
Tonight we are enveloped in the present.
6 days we eat and drink in haste.
Tonight we savor the taste of bread and wine and feel the bond of the world that feeds us.
6 days we teach.
Tonight we learn.
6 days we hear the clamor.
Tonight we listen for clarity.
6 days we struggle to expand our influence.
Tonight we are dissolved in a greater influence.
6 days we focus our vision on the task at hand.
Tonight we look beyond what we can see.
May each of us find our Sabbath peace. That sense of Sabbath peacefulness, that sense of the uniqueness and specialness of the day is found in the words of Eternity Utters a Day.
A thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night. And eternity utters a day. Eternity utters a day. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie.
We continue now with the lighting of the Shabbat candles.
The candles of Shabbat stand before us, waiting to meet the flame, longing to share their warmth, ready to shed their light. Like those who came before us, like all people, we find comfort and fear in flame, endless swirl of fascination, mystery, and awe. Like those who came before us, like all people, we are graced with the desire and the will to understand.
So we continue our ancestors' search for answers, pushing away the darkness of ignorance. The flames they saw as magic and beyond comprehension became flames of knowledge and hope. But still we look with wonder, inspired by their beauty and power. We embrace the flames of Shabbat. We embrace the light, our vessel of mystery and understanding. As we light our Shabbat candles, we celebrate our journey, our quest, and our moments of peace. Baruch ha'or ba'olam. Blessed is the light within the world. Baruch ha'or ba'adam. Blessed is the light within each person. Baruch ha'or ba'Shabbat. Blessed is the light of Shabbat. As I mentioned, as our service began, we had the pleasure of a conversation with Rabbi Bar. He and I sat down a little while earlier to talk together, and we share now with you that conversation. So we have you back, Rabbi Bar.
It's so good to be here with you, Rabbi Werber. It's great to be here. Love being with all of you to share services with. And I came across an article that I thought we should talk about. It sort of speaks to both of us. It's an article that was recently published in the Jewish Telegraph Agency, JTA, about rabbis. There had been a sermon several years ago by a rabbi that was talking about the crisis, that there weren't going to be enough rabbis. And I think a lot of us have seen that the seminary, certainly some of us who've talked about Hebrew Union College, the campus here in Cincinnati is no longer ordaining, in the sense there are fewer and fewer people becoming rabbis. So just recently, there was this brand new survey done to see if that's accurate or not. And I thought we'd chat a little bit about it, because I think there's some really just interesting facts in it, and we're not sure we agree with all of the research. We're a little bit skeptical. But the thing that I thought was most interesting for me was that the top line, they said about half of all rabbis work in synagogues, which implies that more than half of rabbis don't work in synagogues. And I don't know about when you were ordained, but when I was ordained in the early in 1981, and I was in school, my classmates were going to be pulpit rabbis. The pulpit rabbinate was what we aspire to. And within the Reform movement, certainly, there was a whole gradation of sizes of congregation from A to E. A being a very small congregation, E being over 2,000. And the idea was you'd move up, and there was rules about how long you had to work before you moved up, because the pulpit rabbinate. But what's happening is people don't want the pulpit rabbinate anymore. When you were ordained, were most people going in the...
I think it was just the beginning of this. So we had the beginning of conversations about what if you don't want to be a pulpit rabbi. And we had in the next few years some kind of gentle griping about a lack of status for those who chose something different, right? So it was them not being included in conversation or in the language being used to describe what was happening in
the non-pulpit rabbi.
The non-pulpit rabbi. So I think it was the beginning of those decisions.
Yeah. So just for those of you who are going, well, what do rabbis do if they're not in the pulpit?
Good point.
Good question. Some people would be chaplains in hospitals. They could be chaplains in any other kind of facilities. They might teach in a Jewish day school. There are rabbis who do go on to get their PhDs and then become academics. And I think some rabbis who've gone into, Hillel work, they're executive directors of Jewish organizations or Jewish agencies.
Nonprofit work and advocacy and nonprofit work in a Jewish context is another area. Military chaplaincy, you did say chaplaincy.
Right. Which is, so it's just so interesting to me, that transition for a lot of us. I think for myself, when I heard the word rabbi, I saw the person standing on the bima. I didn't think of the chaplain or the educator. And it also says that there's a real reason why people don't want to be pulpit rabbis anymore. We'll just read
that sentence. Yeah, that's right. They said, right. So here's what this piece was only 222 people who had jobs in both categories, both as pulpit rabbis and in other rabbinical positions. And this is what it says. They said that working for a synagogue pays better, but that by every other metric of job satisfaction, working outside the synagogue is significantly better.
Well, that's been a real issue, is that it starts, those who tend to find their job, pulpit rabbis, it's a stressful job and it's demanding. And this is I think was exacerbated certainly by COVID. If you read articles after COVID, and this was not just within the rabbinate, it was in with clergy of all Christian denominations as well. It just was exhausting. It was a lot of work and very demanding. And the pulpit rabbinate asks a lot of rabbis. That's why we're so glad you applied for the job. You took the job. But people aren't going into it. People are looking for more job satisfaction, work-life balance. I mean, the reality is the rabbinate, certainly pulpit rabbinate, doesn't have a lot of work-life balance because we're always on call, particularly in smaller congregations. So it's an interesting, for me, is an interesting issue. I do wonder too why some of these folks are becoming rabbis to do work that they don't need to be a rabbi for. I mean, you want to be a Jewish educator, you can get a MA, PhD in Jewish education or some topic within Judaism, Talmud, Bible, and then teach that. So I do wonder about some of that, or people who are running not-for-profit organizations, why they're not getting their MBAs or what's
right. And how many of them were pulpit rabbis and got exhausted?
Got it.
Right.
And left.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I think also there's another of their findings is that 58% of rabbinical students today identify as women. And that goes, I know.
I mean, that's crazy.
My class forever ago was 2/3 women, so an even higher percentage than they're reporting there. But
Two-thirds.
I know, but we were an anomaly. I mean, but it did show that I think probably on average it was about 50-50. But I know.
So when I was
stop with the face.
No, it's more, it's so dramatic, the transformation, because when I was in rabbinical school, there was one woman, two women, maybe three women in a class. It was very small. In fact, or some of you may remember when Rabbi Lewis was helping here at Congregation Beth Adam, she was, I believe, only the 11th woman ever ordained. I mean, so really the transformation is really dramatic from, I mean, and at HUC was a boys' school. It was one of the jokes. You know, they didn't have women's restrooms, right? Right. So they had to really redefine themselves, and the transformation has been incredibly dramatic. And I know there was tensions at the college even about having more female faculty, because when I was there was no female faculty that I can think of. You know,
and I can count mine on less than a hand.
Right. So
but they were there.
But it's a real transformation, and I think it's a transformation for the better. I think it brings more depth and richness to the rabbinate, more different voices, different values, different sets of ideas. But that transformation has been pretty swift.
Yeah, it feels long, but when you look back, right, actually it has been. I think I agree with you. It's been swift, right?
I think
it feels like a slow process. But I'm going to ask you about these changes because I want your opinion. But one of the things I think women brought was a demand that work-life balance change. And it benefited men as well dramatically. And now rabbis who identify as men also want that balance. And it's something I think that began as a certain number of women came out of school. I know, my professional career was shaped how it has been for that reason. And my way around, I don't want a pulpit position because of the work-life balance, is I'll take a part-time pulpit position, right? If that wasn't an option, I may have found myself saying, I can't do everything. And these other positions might have looked different. So I think women are a part of that, not because they don't want pulpit positions, but because we're being slow. When you say that the change to more women happened pretty quickly, the rabbinate's being very slow to figure out how to make it a manageable position.
Oh, I absolutely. I agree. And I think it again, back, I think this is generational, not just within the rabbinate, but I think it's generational with the way work was, where men were, the primary bread earners and women were at home managing the home. The husbands were working, longer hours that were, whatever job they were in. And certainly the rabbinate was like that. It sort of mirrored that, very male-centric, the idea that congregations hired the rabbi, but they got the rebbitzin, the wife as well, who oftentimes was an unpaid had a job.
She had a job,
She had a
yeah.
full-time job at the congregation, but that work-life balance. And I do think women are demanding that. And I think work-life balance is happening in lots of places now. People are realizing, not just in the rabbinate, but lots of careers that work is important. We need to do that. But so is having a full and rich life and being able to devote time to family and to friends and to self is really valuable. And I think women raise that issue, and congregations are having to address that in ways that they may not have had to address it before if women hadn't really pushed that issue, which also upset a lot of people, right? They didn't want their rabbis to work less, or to say we need more staff to manage.
Right. The other side of it was a cohort of rabbis who couldn't give up micromanaging. So they couldn't stop rabbis. They couldn't work less, right? So you have a standard that works for a small subset that other people don't want to adopt anymore. But I do want to clarify, one of the things that was impactful to me about Beth Adam as a student was that you worked really hard, but you had boundaries to your work. So coming all these years later, I was quite confident that Beth Adam didn't have some of the pitfalls of some congregations that really exhaust their rabbis at all costs. So I don't want to make this sound like we're griping about the position, because Beth Adam doesn't really fall in that category, but it is a very serious issue as we look at who wants to be a rabbi anymore and what they think the rabbinate might be.
Right. If indeed, they're now saying that the rabbinic attendance has stabilized, but there are more places that people are being ordained. The question that I have too is if the Jewish community, rabbis serve a particular role in leading the Jewish community, voicing things in the Jewish community. Who's going to be coming in? Is it going to be an attractive position for people to have? Is it something that has both is respected and is enjoyable? And so I think that's what people are trying to address right now. I mean, so you can go, just before we end, I want to make sure you can go and look this article, this up. Just type in survey of rabbis. I can't remember the title of it. It's
ATRA is the organization,
right? And I've seen it in a few different places. It's popping up. It was in the Jerusalem Post already.
I got two. Yeah, I have one here, and then that one.
Go
I do them fast because we talked too much already. Because two rabbis.
No way.
Bad. Because I said I was going to ask you about these. What shifts you've seen with the increase in women, and also they report a dramatic increase in LGBTQ identifying rabbis in school. So, and some of those people are now out as well. Also, in Jews by choice, but a little harder for us to sort of look at and say what impact. So, when you said it changed things, what do you mean?
Well, I think again, when I went to HUC, you weren't something you couldn't be gay. I mean, theoretically, that was part of the sort of the psychological test. Of course, there were gay folks in the rabbinate already. They were closeted, that they had to be if they were going to be ordained. Some of them did come out. I do think it mirrored society as a whole, and I think that's really important, because if congregations are going to welcome people, to have the leadership as a far more diverse leadership, people will feel more comfortable walking in the door. And it raises certain, questions about language. While Beth Adam, we focused out a lot about theological language. Other folks have dealt with languages around feminism. There's a language deal with feminist theology. Now, what I often find funny is people get upset with us because we push theology while people are only willing to push English language. They're not willing to, and I said to some students, you're worried about pronouns, but you don't seem to be worried about theology. And which, if as rabbis, that's also part of our responsibility.
Yes.
And they didn't like that.
They don't like that at all. We only have a summary of this survey, but we did study the summary and we did not find the word God in it.
That's right.
So it points to that, right? That it's so important in the language of prayer to people, but not so important, even in what factors made you want to be a rabbi.
Right. And they talk more about Zionism and Israel than they do about God, which really begs the question. And when we raise it, people get upset, but they don't even raise it themselves when it's not front of mind. And we should add, lots of rabbis are retiring. It's
Yes.
which
We
is
got to cover all of our,
well,
and then we got to end with that.
right. Okay. That's the baby boomers. I'm a baby boomer. We were this giant cohort that really have changed, which we're like the bubble in the snake, the bulge in the snake that's been going through. And yeah, so you're going to see more retirements just because of the nature of the baby boomers. So yes, rabbis are retiring. It's nice to be retired. I like being here too, but it's nice to be. So you will be 20, 30 years, maybe.
50 years, who knows, right? No, yeah, I think you're right. I think before then. So the last thing we want to just bring up was an interesting point that they asked about Israel and Zionism, and whether views on Israel and Zionism factor into decisions about whether to become a rabbi. Do you want to tell them what they found?
Oh,
or I can.
You can. I don't know. You had marked it.
I didn't mark.
Okay.
Really. So what they found is, there's been some, I don't even want to say drama, some publicity around rabbinical students struggling with Israel in both directions since October 7th. And so they wanted to know, when rabbis go into rabbinical school, is this a major factor? And they found that it was not, that a very small minority, very, very small minority wanted the rabbinate primarily as a way to promote Israel, or that they were worried about being silenced about Israel. So it's not the motivating factor for going in, but that still leaves room for it to play with how our rabbinates develop.
And it's, to me, it was interesting that was an issue. It really speaks again, the rabbinate, we're part of the culture. And Israel, and debating about the role Israel plays in Judaism, the role Israel plays in our own Jewish identity is really critical. And rabbinic students, particularly, and rabbis, are part of that conversation. And the problem becomes, while an individual may be able to say something, when a rabbi says it, many of its congregants may either agree or disagree, and they may find themselves caught in between and not sure what to say, or feel if they say it, they're going to get fired. But it wasn't a key issue. To me, it actually, again, too, I would go, why would you become a rabbi to promote Israel as your sole issue? That, to me, the primary motivating factor to become a rabbi. I can see, like Israel, move to Israel. You like Israel, you can work for Israel, but as a primary, and again, I think of it as a pulpit rabbi.
Correct.
Right? Because you can be if you're not a pulpit rabbi, there are certainly ways you can be involved with Israel through certain Jewish organizations.
Right. But I think that the more compelling side is the other, where there's anti-Zionist sentiment, right? And is that a barrier to the rabbinate? Should it be? Shouldn't it be? Is it not? And they touch on that, where they don't talk in specifics, but I think at certain schools, there was some anti-Zionist sentiment that
the students were
among students that troubled other students. And that's the piece that needs to get negotiated. More than one's views. Well, how far can the views comfortably go in any institution? And how much is that imposed on other people?
And maybe you remember, I just don't remember, did one of the schools or seminaries actually kick people out if they were anti-Zionist, or did somebody say they should be kicked out? I think somebody
said they should be kicked out.
I think there's some real,
there's been some tension around that in the more progressive rabbinical circles.
Unfortunately, we don't have time right now to have a big in-depth conversation of what does it mean to be Zionist or anti-Zionist, because that in and of itself is a really complicated topic. And fortunately, the rabbis here in the Cincinnati area, who were a leader in getting this together, are doing a whole series of conversation about Zionism. What is it, and what does it mean from different lenses? And I think it's an important conversation. So it's great that you're here. It's great that you're doing that. It's great that you're here too.
Yeah, isn't it? And thanks for joining us. Always a treat when we can
pleasure.
Drag him back in. We're going to continue with the service. Thanks.
Shabbat Shalom.
We turn now to words of remembrance. Now the world is different, emptier, and strange. But you never leave me, floating through my mind. Before you were out there, now you're in here with me. A room full of people, but when I look, I can only see them faintly beyond your face. I'm listening, but I can barely hear them on the other side of your voice. And when I speak, I hear your cadence in my voice. And when I turn my head, I feel it settle at the angle you left vacant. Now, as I reflect, I recognize your thinking shaping my own thoughts. The world is different, and I don't need to hold on to you. You will never leave me. For those we've loved who have never quite left us, we offer our memorial reflection. Ein bidei hamavet hakoach la'korma shetamun balev. Death cannot take that which is locked in our hearts. With our tears, in our sorrow, we remember. With our courage and our strength, we do not forget. Acts of kindness, deeds of courage will remain. Beauty created, wisdom shared is not lost. With our tears, in our sorrow, we remember. Im dema'ot be'einenu be'et evlenu, nishmor al zecher ahuvenu. With our tears, in our sorrow, we remember. Zecher tzadik livracha. May the memory of good people bless our days. Turning back to the joy of Shabbat, we lift our cup of wine together as a tribute to our past, as a blessing for our future. May the allure of its untold flavors beckon us forever to keep uncovering new branches, new roots that hold us together. Tonight, as we welcome the Shabbat, may we find time to spend in our own quiet company and listen to the calling of our hearts. Bruchim hachayim ba'olam. Blessed is the life within the world. Bruchim hachayim ba'adam. Blessed is the life within us. L'chaim. Our concluding song before our final benediction is a very simple one. Bim Bam. Shabbat Shalom.
Bim, bam, bim, 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 bam, bim, 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 bam. Bim, bam, bim, 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 bam, bim, 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Bim, bam, bim, 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 bam, bim, 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 bam. Bim, bam, bim, 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 bam, bim, 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom.
Thank you to Brian. May we know blessings those who are near. May we know blessings those who are far. May the Sabbath bring its goodness to everyone soon, wherever they are. May we know blessings through the day. May we know blessings through the night. May health be for all children. All things soon be right. May we know blessings in our comings. May we know blessings when we depart. May we live each day with peace and wisdom in each heart. Ken yehi ritzonenu. May it be our will. Shabbat shalom. May it be a peaceful Shabbat.